Hello, everybody. Good evening or other part of the day. Um, my name is Alla in the Balance Club, and we help people to achieve 100% of success. Today is the introductory class for the Wise Parenting Program. And the other name of this program is 30 Qualities to Develop and possibly pass to the children if you are a parent or going to be a parent someday. This course is recommended as a foundation to deep understanding of what an educated person, a developing person is. It is recommended to parents, parents-to-be, educators, leaders, and those who are on the path of self-realization. We will start from an interesting statement of Count Leo Tolstoy, who is an author of War and Peace and other great literature pieces. He wrote, "I have never wrote about education because I believe that education is to live very well ourselves, to move forward, to get educated. Only in such a way people influence others or upbring them. And even more so for the children, which are connected with us. Be truthful and honest with the children. Do not hide from them what is happening in your soul. It is the only education. Pedagogy is the science of how to, while living wrong, you can have a good influence on children. This is similar to our medicine, which teaches how, while living contrary to the laws of nature, still be healthy. This is an artful science and empty, never reaching its goal. All the difficulties of education arise from the fact that parents not only didn't correct their shortcomings, but also to justify their confidence, they do not want to see these deficiencies in their children. End of the quote. These words contain the essence of the philosophy of transferring positive qualities from parent or educator to children or leader to their team members. And the essence is that the parent or leader doesn't take quality somewhere else, somewhere in a fairy tale or story or in the school book, and then gives it to the child or team member who accepts it and immediately becomes good and noble. The essence is, if the parent, him or herself, doesn't possess a quality, then the only thing he or she can give to the child by explaining positive character trait is hypocrisy and trickery. We are all familiar with this effect when, for example, smoking parent requests the child not to smoke. The more the smoking parent explains that smoking is bad, the more evident it becomes for the child that smoking is all right. Now let's talk about this in more detail. So Count Tolstoy claims that moral education or upbringing of children narrows to parents' work on their own character and work on it constantly. He said that this is the most powerful tool for influencing others, and because children are very close, that influence on them is the strongest. That exactly same statement is true for educators because many children are spending more time with them, with the educator, than with the parent sometimes. The main mistake that the people think that moral education or development is connected with a certain age. We often think that if we are already grown up, then moral education or character development has nothing to do with us anymore. But this is not true. The secret is that moral education and character development ruled by others in certain age transforms into the one done by ourselves. But it does not and it should not stop. Character development is constant and uninterrupted process. With this said, I have to add that our mind is our enemy. It is similar to a boat with water leaking in. Moral education is the process of taking out the water from this leaking boat of our life. If we stop taking out the water, then the boat will fill up, maybe slow, and then slow down, and then become clumpy, and at the end, it simply sinks. This thus only that kind of parent can give moral education and character development to the child who is himself or herself didn't stop on moral education and character development that was switched to the system of self-development. This opinion is also supported in Vedic system of education and development. Contemporary saint Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada said, actually he wrote in the letter, now you are husband and wife, and you must work together combined with great responsibility for raising your new child in an ideal consciousness. Children learn by imitation of their parents, so if you both set conscious example, the child will very naturally and easily become advanced by following. So the whole system of moral education is based on parents who must be an example for their own children, and nothing can stop this example from being received by the child who is a sponge. It means that the child absorbs what's going around. It means that nothing can stop the child from absorbing good example from parents, and nothing can stop the child from absorbing bad example from parents. A famous educator, Maria Montessori, she also was talking about that in her books and in her works, how one of the main responsibilities of the teacher or of the guide is to observe and develop their own character. She was one of the first people in the West who noticed that the children absorb what they see and it changes them. And she called it the camera effect. Or sometimes she was saying that the children have absorbent mind. So it doesn't matter what kind of sponge the child is, the sponge girl or the sponge boy, even if it's a SpongeBob. What is important is that this sponge is absorbing. It is absorbing character traits of the parents. But do parents have these qualities? Is a big question. So the readiness for the moral education of the child is self-development of the positive character traits and the simultaneous fight with own negative qualities. It means that we have to learn about positive qualities, we have to understand them, and we have to develop them in practice. That is what we are going to do in this course. So let's have a story. Once upon a time, there was a man, and he had a good habit. Every day, he got up before sunrise and went to the seashore, watched the sunrise, and prayed. After some time, his son grew up and, like the father, got up every day to watch the sunrise on the shore. but he didn't pray. Then the son of the sun grew up, and like his father, he got up before sunrise and went to the seashore. Only he had no idea why he did that. Now, in many cities of the East, we can see people come out to see the sunrise. They just watch it. They forgot that is the time for prayer. Count Tolstoy studied Vedas. He wrote special books for educators. He contacted with other educators and studied experience from different countries. He paid special attention to the Vedic system. He also visited lots of schools in Europe. After that, he decided to establish his own school. And this school was free and very unusual. One of his main ideas was that education is useful only when it brings joy. The other concept of teaching was a free talk or dialogue with students, and he used a system of transferring knowledge through stories. His recommendation was to be truthful and honest with children and not to hide from them what's going on in your heart. This is one of the most important recommendations for parents. Truthfulness is the basis for human qualities. Truthfulness is the last leg of religion that saves the world from degradation. Long, long ago, in Golden Age, all the four legs were intact because people were abiding by four principles: austerity, cleanliness, kindness, and truthfulness. But in our time, there's only one leg left, the leg of truthfulness. The other three legs were broken by pride, lust, and intoxication. So in our age, truthfulness is our last hope, and the whole moral education must be built on the basic principle. And even though we use the word religion here, actually the moral education or development doesn't have its task for devolving anyone. Specific form of spirituality or the goal of moral education is to give principles of spiritual development. And the form of spiritual development or religion, the person must choose by him or herself. So the spiritual principles of austerity, cleanliness, and kindness and truthfulness can be followed by people from any religion or any path. There's no need to switch from one faith to another. So the main thing is to understand the basis of spiritual principles that are expressed in formula that sounds like Dharmena Satyana. The base of spirituality isn't truthfulness. It's our duty to be truthful. Sages concluded that the easiest and fastest way to satisfy the absolute is through truthfulness. And when absolute is satisfied, then everyone is satisfied. So if parents are truthful, then their child is truthful. If the leaders are truthful, their followers are truthful. Then the absolute is satisfied and everyone is well. The opposite of truthfulness is hypocrisy. The formula of success in moral education: be truthful and don't be hypocritical. Let's have another story. One person asked Socrates, "Do you know what your friend told me about you?" Socrates answered, "Wait, don't tell me anything. First, put what you want to say through the 3 tests. What 3 tests? Before you say anything, you must test it 3 times. First, through the test of truth. Are you sure it is true? No, I just heard it, said the man. So you're not sure whether it's true or not. Let's put it through the second test, the test of kindness or goodness. The thing that you want to say me. Is it something good about my friend? No, said man, it's actually the opposite. It means, said Socrates, that you are going to tell me something bad about him, but you're not sure if it's true. Okay, let's try the third test, the test of usefulness. What do you want to tell me? Will it be useful to me? After some thinking, the man said, no, most likely not. So, said Socrates, the thing that want you tell me, there is no truth, no kindness, and no use. Then why say it? I'm not going to listen to you. I hope you will not be upset. No, Socrates, said the man. Why should I be upset? You are right. So modern pedagogy is a science of how, while not developing themselves, the educators or parents, and living whimsically bring up a good child. What kind of science is this? It's one of the hypocrisy. These are lies or deception. It completely contradicts and even destroys the main quality of a good person, the truthfulness. In this scenario, parents are not only have no plan for self-development and changing, but they also justify their negative inclination, seeing nothing bad in them. So what can parents or educators teach to their children? That is a paradox of modern pedagogy. What parents want for their children is not to have those negative qualities, which they happily cultivate in themselves. And they defiantly achieve nothing, definitely. This way, method cannot give any positive results because the child can clearly see the contradiction. It means that the only thing the child will develop is hypocrisy. There is an interesting tale. In one Arabic city there lived a trader named Ismail. Whenever he would sell merchandise to the clients, he would always cheat them for a few coins. As a result of this trickery, he was becoming richer and richer. His children were always sick though, and he had to spend a lot of money on doctors and medicine. The more he was spending on his children's health, the more he was cheating his customers. But the more he was cheating his customers, the bigger health problem his children endured. One day when Ismail was sitting alone in his store, worrying about his children, the skies split open. He looked up to see what was going on, and he saw angels standing by the great scales. The scales weighed all of the goods that God was giving to the people. It was Ismail's family's turn. When the angels started to measure his children's health, on one side of the scales they put very little health. It was way less than the weight on the other side of the scales. Now Ismail got very angry and chastised the angels. So one of them turned to him and said, "You are chastising us unjustly. We are measuring everything correctly. We take away from your children exactly as much as you take from your customers. This is the law of God, and it cannot be violated." Well, Ismail was shocked. When he came back to his senses, he realized all of his wrongs and started to repent his grave sin. From that day on, Ismail started to not only weigh the goods correctly, but would also always add a little bit more. As you understand, the health returned to his children. That was a nice story. So, in the course, we are going to study and have little assignments to practice and to concentrate our mind on this 30 qualities or the character traits. And practically everyone should obtain these 30 positive qualities. It will be enough not only to become a good person or a good parent or a good leader, but to reach a perfection, become a really awesome person. So it's not just a list of qualities. It is a real plan for the whole life. It's a plan that we need to understand, we need to realize and do it, because without action, there is no change. In the process of making this plan come true, oral education, development of raising of the children will happen naturally and with good results. Thus, as they say, we kill two birds with one stone. One, we follow a sure path of self-perfection, and two, we educate, we develop everybody who are connected with us, especially children, because they're most perceptive, because they're the ones who sponge up all the habits and principles that we fill our life with. This tradition of teaching by example comes from the great sage of the ancient time, Narada Muni. This saint put forth all the effort for the system of education to work and make people be different from animals. It doesn't sound pleasant, but moral education is the system that allows people to be different from animals. Please remember this definition. Narada Muni explains that every person should be educated in such a way that he or she will obtain these 30 qualities. Please see that there is no dividing for boys or girls, man or woman. Both man and woman should develop in themselves the whole set. In the modern world, everywhere, the idea of state where everybody is interested in materialistic activity is only propagated. But if we don't develop these 30 qualities in people, how can we talk about any kind of happiness? Maybe about some animal type of happiness. In essence, these are 30 qualities of a happy person. For example, let's take the very first qualities that we're going to study, the truthfulness. If all citizens of a country lie, would this country be a happy one? This is why every person, regardless what spiritual tradition he or she follows, or if they are not following any, must be taught truthfulness, or to be truthful. Similarly, everybody has to be taught kindness, and everybody should fast on certain days. To keep the body clean, everybody needs to shower twice daily, brush their teeth, etc. For inner cleanliness of the mind, we have to learn prayer practice. Also, it is very important to follow the cleanliness of the gender relations. Those who follow principle of fidelity or loyalty in the family and don't commit adultery gain great memory as a quality of the mind, unshakable determination, lots of inner power and energy. Besides that, everybody needs to learn to avoid pretense in thoughts and in feelings and be satisfied with what is really necessary for mind and body. Everybody needs to have these qualities. It absolutely doesn't matter what kind of state a person lives in. If the people of a country do not bring up those qualities in themselves, the country will not have peace. The list of 30 qualities ends with 9 elements of spiritual practice. It means that everyone, earlier or later, should begin a path of spiritual development. Then all the other good and moral qualities will develop by itself. This educational concept based on spiritual priorities is supported in ancient scripture. If a person completely dedicated himself or herself to spiritual development, then all of the good qualities gradually will appear in him or her. We have to understand well that even though spiritual qualities are at the end of the list of qualities, actually, according to the wisdom laws, the most important things are described at the end. So in education, the spiritual qualities are the most important too. We need to develop them firsthand. Without spirituality is like without base or fundament. The building of education will not stand, and earlier or later it will collapse. Therefore, for being a good parent and a good educator or leader, first we need to be good. That means to have these 30 qualities. So a good one equals the one who possesses 30 qualities. To possess means to remember them, think about them, achieving them, and trying to develop them. Nobody should be disappointed if you see that you don't have some of the qualities. We can start cultivating them at any age. Spiritual development begins from the moment of previous death and ends with the moment of death of this life. It means we have to die in such a state of consciousness that being born in the next life, we could start our development immediately. It means we have to die concentrating on the last spiritual qualities that we will have in the list. Then educators and parents will be able to awaken these 30 qualities of pious person immediately after our birth in the next body. So let's not make it difficult for our next parents. We should understand the rule of the 3/3. This is very important. The personality of the child is made up of first part that represents his or her past. It can be dark or light. It comes from the past life. This part of the personality cannot really be influenced because it's in the past. It often happens that parents think that their child is a gift, but later comes out it's not a gift, it's a surprise. The second part is part of education that consists of the parent's development and working on the 30 qualities and naturally passing them to children. Children absorb it and awaken them in the consciousness. And the third part is the association, circle of association, circle of influence of the child, which also depends on the parents and the early age. They have to try to find people or children for their child with who he or she can have good quality association and absorb 30 qualities or at least some part of them. So parents can influence 2/3 of the education and the circle of influence. And 1/3 is predetermined. In the influence of this 2/3 will be active and constant. Then one unchangeable third of the past will definitely step back. So the child will be able to win over the dark part of the soul if they have one, or will maybe never find out about it. At the teenager age, the child loses the ability to actively sponge up positive qualities through the parental education. Therefore, at this time, parents have to switch to friendly association and become a friend from the circle of influence. It means that 1/3 of their personality will keep changing through the good association. So this part is very important for the educators and leaders who work with adults or people who are starting the teenager age. Because there's the only part that we have influence over as being part of the friendly circle of influence. So we need to help the child with this too. At least we have to show that example of self-education, a self-development. Person can learn that associating with parents or leaders who practice self-development in their own free time. So there is a little practical part for you to do so our classes keep being useful and practical. It's better if you get just paper or little notebook, or maybe even big notebook, where you will be writing your realization and plans. So the first point of the homework described how your life gets better from truthfulness or gets worse from hypocrisy. Second point, find 2-3 stories about truthfulness and hypocrisy and think on that. Or if you have children, tell the story to the children. If you are going to have a child in the near future, you can create another special notebook with the stories that you will read to your children later. You can also just tell the story if your child is older, maybe riding with you in the car, or talk about the story with your team members or associates if you are a leader. That's about it. So the next class will be dedicated to listing all these 30 qualities and understanding what they are. And the class after that, we will start discussing and digging into the first quality of truthfulness. If you have any questions, please write them below in the comments. I will be happy to answer them in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.